Okay, so we're going to review how to do summary, quoting, and paraphrase, and then also how to do those things on Noodle Tools where you can create note cards and save the note cards. That enables you to save all the information from your articles in one place, which is very helpful because then you don't have to flip through all of the articles and you don't have any notes to lose, and you can access them from anywhere in the world that is accessible via internet. So we'll start with Noodle Tools. We will sign in. You will see my sign-in information. You obviously use your own sign-in information when you sign in. Let's see. That's mine. And then my password. Okay. So you'll come into Noodle Tools. You'll be on the main page here. Some of you might have a variety of projects. The one that I've been using this time is Mr. Collins' Animal Shelter, which was that model project that we never ended up doing. So that's why it's the model. So when you are using summary, paraphrase, and quoting, you're going to come on, and up here in the top band it says Note Cards. You click on Note Cards, and it will take you to this dashboard. It calls it the Note Card Tabletop, and then there is an outline portion to it. I think my screen is poorly adjusted, so I'm going to zoom out so that it fixes that problem. So to add a note card, you just go upper left, you can hit New Note Card, and you give the note card a title. So whatever it is, whatever word or phrase will be handy for you to remember that note card. You can give this, I'm going to have this one be Summary, Animal Shelter Paper 1. I only have one paper on here. So I'll put Summary, Animal Shelter Paper 1. And then it has different boxes. There's direct quotations, where you can cut and paste quotes in, and then there's summary or paraphrase, which is the paraphrase or the summary. So in terms of quotations, this is what these different pieces are. When you quote a block of text from a paper, you really want to be quoting maybe at most a sentence, but really try to focus whatever you're quoting down to the level of a phrase or even a specific term. So you could say, when the authors say, for using an animal shelter example, when the authors say no kill shelter, and then no kill shelter could be in quotations, what they are referring to is and then you explain what a no kill shelter is. So that's just a 3-word phrase. When if you want to focus even more specifically, you could say when somebody says a kill shelter, just use the word kill as a quote, then you could explain that it means euthanasia or putting animals to sleep, but killing them is actually more direct. So, but you could focus your quotes, so not huge blocks of text. Whenever you're writing a paper, you want to assume that your audience has read the same papers that you have and has understood them at the basic level, and that what you are doing is understanding them at a deeper level and sharing your understanding with them. So, quotation, keep the quotations you use short and keep them meaningful. So they're things that you really want to focus your discussion on. For everything else, you can use paraphrase and summary. Summary is the larger block of text. So you take big ideas, a whole paper, you summarize that paper in a sentence or two. You don't need to recount all of the points of a paper, just the ones that are important and specific to your paper. So summary is focused. Again, you're assuming that the other person has read everything else you have read and understood it at the basic level. So when you summarize, you're just drawing their attention to certain points. You're not telling them every aspect of the paper. With paraphrase, paraphrase is focused on a specific point of a paper, but instead of taking all of the big ideas and boiling them into one short sentence or quoting that sentence, you're taking the sentence and putting it in your own words. So paraphrase has more to do with interpretation. So quotes are, you take the language in the paper at the level of the phrase, the word, or the sentence. If you have to go longer, you can do several sentences, and that's a block quote, but you really only want to use 1 or 2 of those per paper. So quote, you use their language. Paraphrase, you use your own language, but it takes up about as much writing as the original. You're just explaining it in more basic terms or terms that are familiar to your audience. So you're covering the same points, but putting them in your own words. With summary, you are taking a lot of ideas and putting them into one sentence. So it's condensing them and working them down into one short description. With all of these, you'll always need to cite the original source. So even when you use your own words, you cite where those ideas came from. And we'll look at how to incorporate direct quotes in those things. So you can put these pieces of information in on the note card, and then if you have entered your sources on your bibliography, you can select that source, and then it'll fill all of that information in for you. And you could tag this with something. So if I was doing that piece on no-kill shelters, I could tag this no-kill, and then you could select from various tags if you had some that existed. And then you can organize these into piles, which would be related to your sub-questions. So if you're having these relating to specific areas, you can put them in under certain sub-questions so that you'll have all of the information you need related to certain questions. Then when it comes time to access that, to write that part of the paper, you can access that pile, and there's all the information for you, and you write that section of the paper by reviewing the information you have and putting it together narratively. So let's just pretend that I did a paraphrase from the paper. You would actually paraphrase, but I'm just doing it so there's some text to save. I hit save, and then the note card is there. They have new note cards listed over there, but then you have a tabletop that you can organize. Sometimes this can be moved around, and I don't know, like if you look down here in this corner, this is a large tabletop, and so if all of your notes were in the upper right-hand corner and you have this square organized in the upper left, you won't see your note cards over here. You'll have to move this square to the other side and put it there. And so I think if I move that note card onto the tabletop, now there it is. But if I have my screen over here, I won't see this. So that can throw people off. So you want to kind of move your note card across the tabletop so that you can get it later. I don't know why they made the table so big. I guess maybe if you have lots and lots of notes, but that is there. Any questions about this process? Try to move this note over. Questions at all about summary or paraphrase? Okay. So important note being, make sure that in your summary for the assignment that you had, the exercise with summary, quoting, and paraphrase, you don't want any quotes in your summary. You just want it to be purely quotation. You don't want any quotes in your paraphrasing, but in your paper, if it's helpful, you can work them in like that. But that's how to create the note cards, and I believe for your paper you want 40 note cards. So that's using direct quotes, paraphrases, different points. You're going to have about 8 sources in your paper, so that's having 5 note cards about with each source. So once you get into using quotes, and if you imagine that you do one summary of each paper, that gets pretty easy to fill out all of those note cards. So we'll focus more on doing that when we're in the library next week, but that's how that works.
Where are these papers